Every sign and every house, a journey starts and we allow the universe so vast and true. AstroViktor, it's here for you.
Hi, my dear Astro family. Today we are going to be looking at the upcoming Saturn and Uranus sextile, which is actually the second out of 3 sextiles. So the very first one happened in April 2025. Then we are going to be experiencing one on the 11th of August 2025, and we're going to have one in January as well, 2026. So I want to break this down for you in depth. We're going to look at some history as well, the very last sextiles, what went down there, what we might be expecting on a personal as well as a political level. And then potentially I'm going to try to give you a few sentences also to consider with your own chart as well. So, but before we get into that, I would like to announce that my yearly reports for 2026 are getting ready. You're going to get a beautiful calendar with that as well. And it's going to be breaking down the major planetary movements. Each video is approximately 2.5, 3 hours. But I just recorded Taurus, and actually that became 3 hours and 18 minutes. So it really depends on the sign. I think the shortest one is 2.2 hours, 40 minutes, and the longest one so far is 3 hours and 20 minutes. In this report, I give you a lot of scenarios, kind of like a lot of remedies, how to work with these aspects so that you can benefit the most out of it. Now, let's get, and then if you would like to get weekly reports, then you can join my membership program. Each rising sign is about 15 to 20 minutes each week. It highly depends on how many aspects we've got. Last week, we only had 3 major aspects and a couple of asteroid movements. So each sign was about 12 to 14 minutes. But a few weeks ago, each sign was about 30 minutes long. So you might want to consider that as well. So let's get going. First of all, let's just look at what is going to happen with this astrological configuration, because actually we've got a kite formation. So I want to talk to you about kite as well. We're gonna have the second sextile between Saturn and Uranus on the 11th of August 2025. But this is a super interesting chart, as we will have a kite configuration in it. So Saturn and Neptune in Aries opposes Mars in Libra. And then Saturn and Neptune has a sextile to Uranus in Gemini and Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So we are going to be breaking this down politically, personally, globally, and also Uranus conjuncts 3 asteroids as well: Sappo, Phaethon, and Psyche. Let's get going. I mean, the core here is, of course, the Saturn and the Uranus sextile. And Saturn is about structure, discipline, responsibility, traditions, limitations, and Uranus signifies innovation, rebellion, freedom, sudden change, and disruptions as well. Now, a sextile is meant to be a harmonious aspect. It suggests opportunities for integrating, being able to integrate the opposing forces, which is actually going to be happening between Saturn and Mars. So we've got a potential here for structured innovation, bringing about change in an orderly yet revolutionary way, finding liberation through discipline and fears, breaking old forms and creating new ones pretty much, potentially with a sense of purpose. And Saturn wants stability, while Uranus often brings a bit of a chaos, even with a sextile. Now, we've got a kite formation happening, and the kite is basically when we've got one opposition and the opposing planet has got 2 sextiles happening at the same time. So we've got a mini grand trine and the planet is opposing that basically. What you need to know about the kite formation is that it's actually highly beneficial. And the focal point of the kite is always the one that receives an opposition but forms two sextiles at the same time. So in this chart, what you see is it's going to be Saturn and Neptune conjunction. So we have been speaking about Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Aries for a while, and I think many of my colleagues are doing the same as well. Of course, Saturn is trying to bring discipline to something new, a new beginning. It is limiting somehow the action. We are not doing it hot-headedly. And it is also about embracing leadership. While Neptune in Aries blurs boundaries, introduces idealism, and spiritualizes the pioneering spirit. So this is Saturn and Neptune forming the sign of Aries is getting something done that is our vision, like going after our vision. It's about a disciplined ways of pursuing our ideas or disillusionments with traditional structures. Um, and something new is emerging out of it. And the energy can become quite forceful, quite direct as well, because it's Aries. Now we've got Mars in Libra, and Mars is the planet of action and aggression. Mars in Libra is in detriment, and Libra represents balance and harmony and connections and relationships. So Mars is hesitant a little bit here. It's indecisive, it's passive aggressive, it's focusing on achieving justice potentially or fairness, but it is trying to do that through conflict resolution. And Mars, even in the sign of Libra, might seeks partnership as well, someone to get supported by. Now, of course, this is an opposition. And the opposition between Saturn, Neptune in Aries and Mars in Libra is a tension here. It's a struggle between those pioneering ideas and the need for a balanced and harmonious action or connections. So the challenge here is to find a way for this new structure and ideas to coexist with diplomacy and fairness and the etiquette somehow. So we've got a sextile to Uranus in Gemini and of course a Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So Uranus in Gemini is it's an intellectual revolution. It's a new way of thinking. It's communicational breakthroughs. Changes in how information flow and technology, how it is rapidly potentially changing. And Pluto retrograde in Aquarius is, Pluto is deep, it's transformative, but it's the planet of change. So we've got changes going on in the collective ideas about social structures, humanitarian efforts. And retrograde is usually internal. It's a reflective process of all the changes that is happening around us. And we start reevaluating certain type of power dynamics within groups. So we've got this kite formation here. And the kite is, it's kind of like, think of the kite actually when it's flying, right? So we've got a point that is receiving the attention. And it's all about Saturn and Neptune. So it is all about having to have a structured vision, and we're going to have that pioneering spirit to be able to get something done. And because Saturn and Neptune is ruled by Mars, and Mars being in the sign of Libra, so its own ruler is opposing it. It really feels like that one of the problem is that we might not find the partners for our own ideas. We might not get the support. But there's a lot of reformation happening through rebellion. We've got kind of like this disciplined movement or a powerful movement going on, potentially maybe advocating for a change. And that's Uranus and Pluto as well. This is not necessarily just protest that I'm referring to, but it might be just a push or a need for something new, like a new system. Or maybe it's again certain type of communication technologies. And Mars in Libra suggests that, you know what, actually it might become a legal case, for example, or diplomatic negotiations. Surely there could be some technological disruption as well. I mean, heavily relying on advanced technology and data. I mean, if something goes wrong, then basically we are screwed, right? I mean, really, it is digital, it is AI driven. For example, AI driven administrative systems that I can imagine. And that Saturn Neptune in Aries opposition might Saturn Neptune and Mars opposition in Libra somehow suggests that it shows a bit of a struggle to swiftly implement this new system, or people find it injustice. Like there could be questions around, whether we prioritize human rights or privacy or equality. And that's obviously the Libra element there. And maybe there are these global alliances going on to bring a new world order. So nations and organizations uh, reconnect to create these alliances to potentially address some pressing issues, such as climate change or economic disasters and so forth. And Saturn Neptune in the sign of Aries might become something like an initiation of something bold or idealistic policies, while Mars in Libra says, you know what, we have to be diplomatic about it. We have to be promoting international cooperation. And this could even indicate that leaders are becoming somehow unconventional as well, like maybe leaders with unconventional backgrounds. The reason why that might be popping up is because we've got Uranus in conjunction to Sappho, Phaethon, and Psyche, but I'm going to talk about them in a short while. And but they have got a certain type of a strength. Maybe the strength lies in the ability to communicate new ideas effectively. And surely social justice seems to be pretty much of a big topic coming up. And even though it looks like this is only going to be, Saturn's Uranus is only lasting till January, but pretty much this kite formation, we can kind of keep it until a good 3 years. So the predictions that I'm making is pretty much for the next 3 years. I would also say that on an individual level, us as an individual might feel this very strong urge to innovate, to break free from old limitations. But Saturn says we don't need to be, random about it. We don't need to be super rebellious about it. We're going to have a new structured approach to our new ideas to live. Maybe communication and learning and technology. And maybe for you, the catalyst is going to be a certain type of a connection, a personal relationship. And of course, it says that collaboration is a key to success. Somehow, idealism meets action here. So you have got this strong calling towards a cause or an ideal, and then Saturn brings a discipline to it to make it a reality. So maybe some of you will be launching a new business opportunity. Potentially, maybe you're going to start thinking about your own mission as well. But again, Mars in Libra opposition might mean that navigating personal conflicts or compromises to achieve these goals, or to learn to fight for something that is right for you, is somehow crucial or important. I would also say that there is this creative surge of energy as well here, a lot of inspiration, and that especially comes from Uranus and Sappho. But like I said, I'm going to be speaking about these asteroids a little bit later on. Um, so it really feels like there is a lot of psychological insight going on with this kite formation, and that is coming from Uranus conjunct Psyche, which is definitely leading to a deeper understanding of the true self or true purpose. And somehow even our limits are getting tested, and the limits are connected to Phaethon. Maybe we redefine completely relationships as well. Existing relationships might undergo a significant transformation, like unconventional relationships or all those type of stuff. And that's on one hand Uranus in Gemini, and then Mars in Libra is very much focusing on partnership which needs to be rebalanced. Fair treatments and mutual respect coming up there. Surely on a personal level, somehow this is also about reclaiming your personal power. This is about feeling empowered to actually challenge outdated personal beliefs or societal norms that have limited us. And that's Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. So there's a lot of self-discovery going on here. There is a lot of conscious decision just to align with a more authentic sense of us, basically. And the kite configuration pretty much indicates that this is really exciting. On a global level, I would say that this might be talking to us about restructuring the global economy. So shifting global economical structures, technological advancements, digital currencies, decentralized economic models, reprioritization of sustainability, and the ethical practices over, all these as well. And of course, Saturn and Neptune really represent something like an idealistic drive for a new system. But Mars in Libra seeks fair distribution and international agreements. So everyone needs to be in it. And of course, with an opposition, it indicates that some of us will not be in it. It's also, this aspect really feels like it's a collective awakening. It's about how we react to crisis situations globally. And of course, Neptune is very driven by compassion and like idealistic impulses there. While Saturn in the sign of Aries, it's basically provides a organized aid or a long-term solution somehow. And Mars in Libra trying to encourage these collaborative efforts or the fair distributions of those resources. Environmental innovation, I think that's going to be quite huge, or potentially there's going to be regulations around it as well. So sustainability practices, I think that's going to be huge. I think new international regulations are going to be implemented. That Saturn in Aries, of course, it's driven by a collective idealism, kind of like trying to protect humanity, protecting the planet somehow. And not to mention the space exploration, I think that's going to be huge. So there are going to be significant advancements in that field, new discoveries. Maybe that's going to be challenging the existing knowledge of ours, and that's Uranus in Gemini. So that's one way we can approach this. Now, like I said, the focal point or the apex of the kite is Saturn and Neptune. And the very positive of that we have got disciplined visionary actions. So of course, Saturn, which represents structure and clarity, it's trying to lift up the fog of what Neptune creates there. And Aries is the sign of beginnings. So of course, Uranus, which represents innovation, and Pluto is the changes, the transformation. So it's somehow actualizing a grand vision. This is not just about dreaming, it's about building those dreams with concrete steps. It's somehow giving ethical foundation for new beginnings as well. So those new initiatives and structures being built are grounded in strong ethical principles. And therefore, of course, it's the sense of purpose as well. Or we do that with Neptune to serve the higher good. But maybe we need a lot of courage to face disillusionment as well, or to be able to build something new. Aries is a brave sign, and Saturn is about fear and reality. So we need to be able to face reality. We need to be able to face our own fears as well, or we need to be brave enough to cut something out that gives us disillusionment, and that's Neptune. Now, negatively speaking, the challenges of that Saturn and Neptune focal point is that we can become dogmatic. It can lead to a belief system that both rigid and zealous. It's like dogmatically believing in new ideologies. And then with that Mars opposition is that it clearly shows that some of us might not like it and it doesn't fit everyone somehow. Or we can be imposing our ideas on others as well. While Aries can be very pioneering, at the same time, it could be a forceful nature as well. So I'm trying to impose my ideas and new structures and belief systems on others without considering the needs or without consideration of diverse perspectives. And we can get super frustrated as well with slow progress. I mean, Saturn is slow and realistic. And Neptune is boundless and idealistic. And it's in an impatient sign, Aries. So this is sometimes frustration because something is too rapid, or something that I have envisioned do not materialize quick enough. And also it could even indicate that we've got these ideas, and that's Neptune, and then we are building these new structures, and that's Saturn, in a very bold, direct way. That's Aries. But there is a risk there of overlooking practical considerations. And therefore, we can make a huge mistake. We are creating something impractical. And it's kind of like trying to sacrifice practicality to be able to bring that Neptunian energy in, because we've got a vision and we want to purify something there. And therefore, it can lead, I mean, think of Neptune, that's all about martyrdom, and Aries can be quite self-righteous. So we might see that, people sacrifice themselves for a cause, for example, which can lead to burnout. And we can have this with an opposition to Mars. It can be like us versus them type of mentality. So Mars, the challenging side of that is that there is conflict between the ideals and the fairness element there. Ignoring collaborations, indecisive about actions, being passive aggressive, but also that justice topic can be coming up as well, because Mars in Libra might want to bring this universal justice, equality, fair play. And therefore, it can lead to debates and conflicts, whether that new way of doing things is truly equitable for every single of us. And it feels like it's not, and therefore I have to make compromises. But on the other side, Aries is strongly convicted or convinced about this new direction. And Mars in Libra is like, come on, people, we need to compromise. We need to talk about this. We need to renegotiate this. So that's where the conflict can be stand for, and therefore it might be showing certain type of relational disharmony. The positive side is that like we are coming up with a strategy, our actions are harmonious, and we are negotiating, we've got a plan, and then Saturn Neptune is just forced into actions to achieve those goals. So this could work out just pretty well for all of us. Now, looking at the previous sextile, and I want to look at the one in April and the one in 1996 and 1997 as well. Now, because we've got three sextiles happening between Saturn and Uranus. Now, in the previous one in April, Saturn was in the sign of Pisces and Uranus was in Taurus. But Mars was in Cancer, so they actually had a mini grand trine happening there. Now, interesting that we have got pretty much the same planets involved here, just Mars is now opposing Saturn. So if we start thinking about, the mini grand trine, having Mars in the picture as well, I would say that maybe that was about emotional discipline, the ability to act on deeply, but in a structured way. And it was all about building something up, like secure foundations, but it is based on compassion and intuition. And Mars in Cancer and Uranus in Taurus was very much about, reforming the area of security and resources and finances. And it was about how to make your home life more like independent, for example. So the overall theme of the April sextile, it really felt like it was an opportunity for practical and compassionate innovations in areas of resources, values, and security, like finding new and stable ways to address collective needs, spiritual concerns, financial systems. Mars in Cancer is all about protecting something, protecting our family, protecting our community as well. Now, in August, this is somehow the continuation of that, but there is a shift. There were sign shifts, right? So there is a shift from the foundational emotional type of energy to something initiatory, something intellectual. So in April, this was a little bit more internal. This was about dissolving and rebuilding foundational structures. And in August, this is external, this is intellectual. So we came up with the idea in April, and then now in August, we are ready to initiate those new structures, new identities, all those intellectual breakthroughs. The previous one in April was very much about reevaluation. Now we are acting on it. So, we looked at our relationships to resources in April, to security, to collective suffering, border protections, and all those type of stuff. And maybe we just recognized the need for changes. Now we are taking actions about it. We are acting on those revelations, on those reevaluations. Maybe we potentially restructured the vision as well. And now we gain that pioneering, assertive force to it. And, while in April we focused a lot on resources and the material world, in August, we are somehow focusing a little bit more on communication, ideas, relationship, and in a way, leadership as well. So maybe it's time to talk to people about that newly founded security, for example, or the ideas that we have come up with. And therefore, we are creating new social contracts, new partnerships. And yeah, so it really feels like that this is somehow the continuation of that April sextile. So I would love to know what was going on in your own life in April, and potentially how you think this might be, playing out for you this time around. Now, I did look at 1996 and 1997 when we had the previous sextile between them two planets. And you know what? Internet went mainstream. I mean, this was about like internet became widespread. Actually, AOL offered unlimited internet access for a fixed monthly fee, for example. And of course, it made the internet far more accessible to everyone. That was a structured innovation that revolutionized communication. And we have also had this Google inception in 1996 when Larry Page began he began his research project at Stanford that would become Google, right? That's something foundational as well and utterly revolutionary because what they did was they organized the information. Then there were introductions to DVDs. That was 1996, the late 1996. That's a new digital format. That's Uranus. And it offered more quality as well. We had the early mobile phones coming out. The first flip uh, mobile phones gains a lot of popularity, for example. I mean, there were political shifts as well. Tony Blair got elected in the UK early 1997, and it was all about that new Labour. Um, it was the modernization of the traditional Labour Party, and that's Saturn. And basically, it was about blending the left and the right wing policies to win just landslides, basically. And then we had the Hong Kong handover, also in 1997. It happened just after the sextile, actually. So most likely the preparation already went down beforehand. Then we had the South Africa's post constitution happening. And then we had Bill Clinton re-election as well towards, well, the end of 1996, of course, and that was his second term. And he tried to blend the traditional democratic ideas with more conservative, fiscally responsible approaches. And Diana, Princess of Wales, she was campaigning for a ban on landmines. So these were some of the, big stuff that were happening. There were a couple of, because Uranus represents unforeseen consequences as well. And we had the Israel-Palestine conflict, Iraq, disarmament crisis. I mean, Iraq's refused to allow UN inspectors access to sites. And then there were a Dunblane massacre happening as well. It was a Scotland school shooting type of stuff. Then we had the Chechen rebel attack, Grozny. We had the mad cow disease as well. Yeah, so we had a couple of bad ones happening as well. So sextiles not always indicates just something good happening. But I think the good side was very much about groundbreaking innovations. And the bad side was very much about like the disruptive side of Uranus, which of course clashing with Saturn. Saturn wants to control, and Uranus wants to break free from those controlling energies. So that can lead to conflicts and social upheavals. And that's where that massacre and, conflicts and so forth are pretty much coming into the picture. Now, like I said, we've got 3 asteroids involved with Uranus. So I want to just touch base on them a little bit. So because I like educating as well. So we might want to be, learn a little bit more as well, right? So like I said, one of them is Phaethon. All these asteroids, by the way, are on 2 or 3 degree of Gemini. So these are very close conjunctions. So we've got Phaethon there. If you want to be looking up where it is in your natal chart, its astrological number is 3200. And he was the son of a sea goddess and the son of Helios. And basically, his father was never at home. He was traveling with his chariot across the sky, taking the sun with him. And basically, Phaeton wanted to kind of ride the chariot himself as well. And he convinced somehow his father to do that just by kind of like giving him this guilty conscious state of mind. And that led to a disaster. At first, all went well, actually, but he wasn't holding the chariot firmly enough. So he had to be struck down with a thunderbolt by Zeus to avert the catastrophe. So therefore, Phaeton died. So astrologically, it represents something that we might not be ready to handle. It's a rash and impulsive decision that we make. And that's the reason why I said to you guys that it looks like something new is going to be introduced, but we are not ready to handle it just yet. Okay, so that's one thing that we might need to be looking at. And you know what? It's not a shock. Saturn is retrograde and Uranus is just touching Gemini right now, but it's going to be shifting back into the sign of Taurus for a little while. So surely something will be launched here, potentially already in August, but we are just not ready to do that yet. Okay, so that's one asteroid which is being part of it. And then we had the other one, Sappho. And these asteroids, by the way, I speak about in my weekly forecasts. So if you want to learn a little bit more about asteroids, then those weekly forecasts are really good learning curves for you. But Sappho is about LGBTQ community on one hand, and secondly, it is also representation of artistic abilities. So this is why I mentioned to you potentially something to do with equality within relationships. It's been an ongoing topic anyway. So I think it's going to get heightened right now and potentially legalized, or they're going to try to structure it. But on top of that, this is also the reason why I said that potentially there could be a politician who is going to be running for election who has no political background whatsoever. Maybe it's a poet, maybe it's a writer, maybe it's an LGBTQ community person, and so forth, which is obviously going to be shocking the world to a certain extent. But maybe they are extremely smart, and the way they represent or communicate about the needs of others are super interesting. And then we've got Psyche there as well, which I have mentioned very briefly already earlier, but this is its astrological number, by the way, is 16, so 16. And Psyche represents soul searching. It is a little bit similar to Neptune. So there is Psyche is also a relationship asteroid. She had to go through a lot of trials to be able to get her loved ones back. And that was Eros, Eros. And Aphrodite set those challenges to her, but with the help of others, she managed to. So that's about soul searching as well. So it represents something to do with our inner psychology and uncovering of who we really are. And it looks like that we're going to have a lot more understanding over how the brain functions and how we are wired and so forth. So we are getting a step closer to be able to understand human behaviors. So now that's the general interpretation of that. Now, let me give you a few keywords to each rising sign, basically. And I'm gonna give you one positive and one negative manifestation of this kite configuration. But if you want to learn more about how this might be playing out for you for next year, don't forget about my yearly forecast, because I talk about shortly about this mini grand trine formation for an hour for each rising sign, and about Jupiter as well for an hour. So, but let's get going for each of these rising signs. So let me start with Aries. So Aries, you've got Saturn and Neptune, which is your focal point in your first house, Mars in your seventh, Uranus in your third, and Pluto is in your 11th house. So it's all about a new project, a new business potentially. Somehow you want to be revolutionizing your field. And it's about getting into a leadership position as well, having the courage, but the courage is tempered a little bit by a diplomatic approach in collaborations, having to look at the needs of others as well. But you are building stronger alliances, and potentially you achieve significant collective impact on others as well. Negatively speaking, you have got a vision for yourself, but it might be clashing with key partnerships in your life, or the vision that you have created is not accepted by others, and therefore it can lead to conflicts. And maybe it's because you are misunderstood, for example. And then with Uranus, potentially we are walking out of these groups. We are kind of like shutting the door on their faces. So it even can indicate that it's a bit difficult to find support. Taurus rising sign, you've got Saturn and Neptune in your 12th, Mars in the 6th, Uranus and all those asteroids in the 2nd house, and Pluto in your 10th house. I mean, on one hand, I can imagine that you're going to start finding clarity through doing a lot of introspection or spiritual practices. And that is leading to a breakthrough in how you generate your income or how you value yourself. And because you've got a sense of confidence going on, therefore you can transform your career and your public standing as well. And also, somehow you are implementing in that new career, for example, more efficient, more ethically aligned daily routines and services as well. So something to do with meaningful professional life. The negative meaning of that is that your ideas are very unrealistic. You are doing a lot of self-sabotage, and that creates chaos in your work life, with your health as well. And that is leading to erratic changes in your financial situations. And somehow you feel destabilized in your career. Gemini rising sign, we've got Saturn and Neptune in your 11th house, Mars in your 5th house, Uranus in your 1st house, and Pluto in your 9th house. So the positive manifestation of that could be, for example, that you are a catalyst for a change within a group. Maybe you are being part of a humanitarian cause, for example, you are taking on a leadership role that is, that the aim of that is to transform some collective ideas, and your personal identity potentially undergoes kind of a shift as well. And therefore, that allows you for a more creative self-expression that inspires others as well. And therefore, you bring your unique vision to the forefront. The negative meaning of that potentially could be that you are having a very idealistic approach within a friend group or in a social movement, for example, and that leads to conflicts over creative projects or romantic relationships. And you have got these personal changes, quite erratic personal changes, with your well-established belief system. So that leads to an intellectual and personal upheaval, where you might not be able to find your own footing. Cancer rising sign, we've got Saturn, Neptune in your 10th, Mars in the 4th, Uranus in your 12th, and Pluto in your 8th house. Positively speaking, that's all about your career taking a significant yet structured new direction. And that is allowing you to bring your vision to your professional life. That's all about the dream job. And that is going to be leading to some spiritual experiences. And maybe it leads to transform your finances and your shared resources as well, or even intimacy as well in your life. And then you are able to create a more nurturing home environment. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that. I forgot to unmute my phone. So I was on Cancer rising sign. So, like I said, it's all about having a vision, having a new direction in your life that is leading to some spiritual experiences or better finances, of course. That is also allowing you to create this more nurturing home environment. However, if we have got very rigid ideas and disillusionment in your career, that can create conflicts within your home environment or family life as well. And somehow foundations are getting broken down. Hidden secrets or self-destructive behaviors and tendencies can lead to crisis situations, especially financial crisis situations, or situations that is going to be undermining your sense of security and your public standing. Leo rising sign, you've got Saturn, Neptune in your 9th, Mars in the 3rd, Uranus in your 11th, and Pluto in your 7th house. The positive scenario that I can imagine is a shift in your philosophical outlook, or you are going towards a new education, for example. And the reason why we do that, because through, let's say, studying, I can actually do a framework for my ideas. And you might even play a very significant role in a group, for example, that is bringing quite a change into your partnership. And then you're using a lot of persuasive and powerful communications to actually support your vision. Negatively speaking, I would say that we need to be watching out for dogmatic beliefs, which might create communicational conflicts, potentially with siblings, neighbors, or within your local community, for example. There could be erratic behaviors going on in your social circle, and therefore I break away from certain type of friend and groups or power struggles with groups. So significant partnership could be ending, unfortunately. Virgo rising sign, we've got Saturn and Neptune in your 8th house, Mars in the 2nd, Uranus in your 10th, and Pluto in your 6th house. I mean, it is all about confronting some of your deep psychological issues or how we manage our shared resources, and that is leading to healing and transformation. And because you heal, you have got unexpected career breakthroughs as well, or you can all of a sudden break into the publicity field. And then basically you've got these changes around your public image as well. And that could lead to new streams of income. And therefore, you're going to live a healthier, more empowering lifestyle. Negatively speaking, I would say that you might be making some agreements, financial agreements, for example, or you have got some unresolved psychological issues, and that could lead to conflicts about money and your personal values, and obviously the self-worth element. And then all of a sudden, there could be these erratic changes in your career, for example, or something goes down in your career that disrupts your work life completely, which might be affecting your mental well-being. Libra rising sign. So we've got Saturn and Neptune in the 7th, Mars in the 1st, Uranus in your 9th, and Pluto in your 5th house. And I could really imagine that your relationship goes through a very significant restructuring. Maybe we are trying to foster a more compassionate relationships, or maybe you are initiating new personal ventures with others, like collaborating with others. And then you get these like wisdom gained through learning and foreign experiences. And it all leads to some revolutionary expansion, creative expression. And then you are expressing yourself, creatively, romantically, and so on. Now, the negative side of this is that we can have very rigid expectations in our partnerships, and it's all about self-assertion, and then we get conflictual about it, and then maybe we are alienating potential collaborators also. So there could be unstable travel experiences, for example, or emotionally turmoil stuff going down in the romantic relationships, and all those can lead to power struggles in your life. Scorpio rising sign, we've got Saturn, Neptune in your 6th house, Mars in the 12th, Uranus in your 8th, and Pluto in your 4th. Positively speaking, I would say that this is about new work, new routines, and then you are improving your health, you are in service to others, and you've got these psychological breakthroughs, revolutionary shifts going on all together in your life, potentially maybe even you changing your financial situation as well. And that is going to allow you to transform your home or even your family foundations. But something you are potentially building something long-lasting here through spiritual or psychological like reviews. Negatively speaking, I would say that we are just working hard but not smart enough. We are deluded about the service that we provide to others. We've got hidden resentment, self-sabotaging behaviors, and kind of like crisis involving our finances as well. And all these are leading to psychological issues, and therefore you feel decentralized or destabilized actually in your home, within your family. Sagittarius rising sign. So Saturn, Neptune in the 5th, Mars in the 11th, Uranus in your 7th, and Pluto in your 3rd. I mean, positively speaking, I would say that this is a new artistic direction. I mean, you've got a new creative project going on, you are super excited about it, and you are feeling inspired to get the work done, which is really helping you to connect and create partnerships, sudden collaborations, and you are even transforming the stuff that you sell or the way you communicate, for example. So that is leading to a more publicly recognized, like you're being publicly recognized somehow within groups. Negatively speaking, I would say that this might represent creative blocks or disillusionment in your romantic life, and that could lead to conflicts with friends or your social circles online, and then it could lead to unexpected breakups, erratic behaviors in the public as well. So there are a lot of arguments. Capricorn rising signs, Saturn and Neptune in the 4th, Mars in the 10th, Uranus in your 6th, Pluto in the 2nd. The good scenario that I can imagine is that you are restructuring your home life. You are laying down the groundwork for a new foundation, and therefore you're building something more secure, a more compassionate base to your home life. And you make revolutionary changes in your work routine and health practice as well. So therefore that leads to a transformation of you, the sense of self-worth, and even your financial values. And basically, you are just advancing your career and public image even further. Negatively speaking, I would say that we have got expectations towards the family and the home environment, and that could lead to certain type of conflicts in your career and in the public as well. And it might indicate some disruptions to your medical fields also. And that might be the cause why you have got this complete breakdown of your financial stability. Aquarius rising sign. So Saturn, Neptune in your third, Mars in the ninth, Uranus in the fifth, and Pluto in the first. Positively speaking, I would say that this is a new way of communicating and sharing your talent and potentially learning as well, trying to find your powerful voice. And also coming up with some creative projects. Maybe you are liberating for yourself from romantic experiences, which is allowing you to go for this personal identity change and you feel more empowered. For example, to relocate, to make international connections, to philosophically explore. Negatively speaking, I would say that, we can be way too rigid when it comes to our way of thinking. We are trying to push our belief systems over onto others, or we are trying to pursue something like relocating to a country where we run into challenges. And there are some disruptions going on in your romantic life that could lead to a personal crisis situation, like a personal identity crisis situation. And therefore, you feel that your life is completely out of control. And last but not least, Pisces rising sign, we've got Saturn, Neptune in the second, Mars in the eighth, Uranus in your fourth, and Pluto in the 12th house. I would say that the positive side is that you have got new ways of looking at your finances and your personal values. It's very much about building a secure but ethically aligned financial foundation. And therefore, you make revolutionary changes within your home environment and family life as well. And then you are transforming your psychological aspects around money, and you are able to release old patterns, and therefore it's serving your higher purpose, your hidden purpose. Negatively speaking, I would say that maybe spending habits or certain type of financial ideas or disillusionment with your self-worth and money can lead to conflicts over shared resources, debt, and intimacy matters. And there could be disruptions to your home or in your family foundation. And that activates certain type of self-sabotaging psychological issues within us. And then we feel overwhelmed by that. So therefore, it could lead to health situations as well. So this is a very brief description of the upcoming energy. So I hope it helps, and I will see you in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.
Through every sign and every house, a journey starts and we allow the universe so vast and true. AstroViktor, it's here for you.